How on earth a regime demands people to bring their feces? If the children do not bring enough of bribery to the teacher, they would beat their children. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I am so excited to be back today here with this interesting video because we are going to talk about top 5 the most ridiculous, unbelievable, and weirdest thing that you can imagine. The things that North Koreans have to do in North Korea to survive. Because, in North Korea, in no human history, any regime has been done what the Kims did. They were able to maintain power for 3 generations and for almost 80 years, right? This never happened unless there was some kingdom. In modern history, this is never existed. And even in the back in old days where there's kings and queens, the countries were never isolated like North Koreans are going through right now. That is why the things that is going inside the country is beyond bizarre, beyond our imagination. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 things that you never imagined that any human being have to go through and is going through right now at this very moment. Number 1, every North Korean must submit human feces, their poo-poo. It's funny because it's so beyond ridiculous. It's really funny, right? Like how on earth a regime demands people to bring their feces. So why the regime needs human feces is really sad, because the North Korean regime, the economy completely collapsed. They cannot produce a fertilizer. Therefore, in these collective farms, they need a fertilizer. So every child, every adult in North Korea have to meet this quota that given by the regime and submit the human feces. And in January is the usually time that where government asks people to bring it in. When I was in North Korea, I was going to school, and when I go to school, my teachers would not teach me stuff. They would send me back to home so I could bring, feces to school. And if you don't meet your quota, you get punished. And North Koreans are malnourished, right? They don't eat 3 times a day. They don't meet the calorie intake that we take here. They don't even poop every day. They don't even poop once a week. They only poop few times in a month maximum. How do you meet 1 ton of poop per family? It's an impossibility. So you go look up around the country to look for poo-poo. But the thing is, even the animals, like dogs, are killed by dictator. In North Korea, literally, Kim Jong-un demanded all the dogs be confiscated because he thought that pets are the delicacy, the decadent of the capitalism. It's the corruption of the capitalism. Therefore, he even killed all the pets in North Korea. So you cannot find even dog poops at this point. And so meeting this quota is a real struggle. And people have to lock their bathrooms with a lock because there are poo-poo thieves going around the country, literally. The consequences of not using a fertilizer and human feces in the farming is very fatal, because this thing causes a lot of a worm in the stomach. So it actually revealed clearly when a North Korean soldier who escaped through DMZ to South Korea a few years ago, and he got shot 5 to 6 times. When the doctors in South Korea opened him, the things that shocked them the most was the worms in his intestines. That's the reality of North Koreans, that while they're being malnourished, in their intestines, this worms going around eating these humans alive. And this nightmare is continuing for North Korean people right now in this 2022. Number 2, in North Korea, the things that people have to do to survive is you must have a job. This sounds really amazing, right? The joblessness is a problem. We try to create jobs. In North Korea, it does not work that way. If you're homeless, you get punished. You don't even have a freedom to be homeless. When I came to America, a lot of people told me, "Oh, our country is so bad, look at us, we have a homeless problem." And for me, it was you have a freedom to be homeless? You have a freedom to not work? In North Korea, the regime requires everybody has a job, the government job. And the trick is they don't get paid. They get paid so little that they cannot even buy one meal from their salary. A doctor in North Korea, a medical doctor, makes less than $1 an entire month. They cannot survive one day with a doctor's salary. Therefore, the people are just free labor, free slaves for the regime. Everybody have to work in the coal mining, collective farm, and factories, and everywhere the government requires, and people do not get paid. And therefore, that's why everybody in North Korea have to work. If you don't, you get punished. You go to labor camps. Number 3. This is also related to number 2. You are forced to mobilize in a free labor. It's slave labor. It doesn't matter you're a child, you're elderly, anybody have to be, we call this collective mobilization that we call in North Korea. They mobilize children to build a dam. They mobilize children to build the railways. All this hard manual labor that everybody, whenever the regime calls, you have to show up, otherwise you get punished. And this is, I still remember, every Wednesday and like Saturday, sometimes every night. It's something called the People's Unit. Everybody is in the unit in North Korea. It's collectivization. So we go to like this People's Unit meetings, and then the person announces, tomorrow we're gonna meet 5 a.m. Every family have to send 2 people for this mobilization work, and then we are gonna go walk like 10-20 miles and build this thing. Everybody know in North Korea in the fall, especially fall and spring, is a tough time because that's a farming and harvesting time, and everybody have to go work in this government, slave labor. The number 4 one, I'm sure you have not expected this. Every North Korean have to submit free rabbit skin to the regime. So why does the rabbit skin? So basically, this is a funny story and sad story. Kim Il-sung thought one day that North Korea's land is more than 80% mountains. It's very hard to farm. Like unlike the Vietnam, you cannot really plant rice and grow war. It's like very mountainous and cold region. So he thought, okay, we have a lot of grass, we have a lot of plants. What do? He heard about some Germans, some Europeans had a big rabbits. So he thought, okay, what we can do is we can feed a lot of rabbits and eat the meat and then get the skin out and make that skin to give us soldiers winter jackets. And that's how it all began. So I think one day somebody in Europe gave to Kim Jong-il like 16 rabbits, this big type of rabbits to North Korea, because North Korea wanted to get this big rabbit type. And then they were so shockingly found out, and that shortly after, all those 16 rabbits were ended up in Kim Jong-il's like a dinner party. It did not go to people to spread and that breed. So however, they still require every student, every person to raise rabbit during the year, and then 4 or 5 skin pets called like skin, we have to submit it. The thing is, like, you cannot really like raise a 5 rabbit the size the government requires. And this creates so much corruption, and children who does not have enough money to buy this rabbit skin in the black market, they cannot go to school because teachers hit them and beat them and send them back until they bring this rabbit skin. There's no human rights. You can do whatever you want if you're a teacher. So many teachers really hurt children in North Korea. And a lot of times, these are the reasons. If the children do not bring enough bribery to the teacher, they would beat their children. And because of that, so many North Korean children now don't go to school. And even though it's a supposedly free socialist education, nobody can afford North Korean education right now because parents cannot just afford these things right now. The last one is a loyalty grain. It's a submitting rice to the regime. So you all know that North Koreans are starving, and even the UN says like 60% of the population are crucially malnourished. In this situation, the regime says if you want to prove your loyalty, submit the grain. It's called the royalty grain. So everybody have to submit the grain to the regime. In a way, the regime began as, if you give your liberty to us, and then we are going to take care of everybody. It's a socialist paradise. The regime gonna provide the free healthcare, free education, free public rations. What ended up happening in North Korea is actually the regime demanding people to submit this royalty grain. So we are actually feeding the regime. The people in North Korea are feeding the government officials. So in North Korea, these starving people who cannot feed their children and dying from starvation have to submit grain to the regime in the name of royalty. I really hope that this video shines some light of this unbelievable ideology called the communism and socialism, that how it actually works in reality, not in just some books. It is unbelievably evil and deceiving and delusional thought. How that is still affecting and harming my people in North Korea. Thank you guys for watching this video. As always, please hit that like button and share anybody that you know. Please join my Patreon, that your support really helped me keep creating these contents. And I look forward to seeing you guys all next time. Love you guys. Bye.